What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Coinbros. We are your guide through the greatest industry in the entire planet, the cryptocurrency market. And my name's Pinky, and today is Friday. So happy Friday, everyone out there. Today we're going to talk about what's going on in the market and what to look for, right? I'm driving, sorry guys. Bitcoin's at like 70K, right? We've been holding this 70K line for pretty much, I don't know, almost 2 weeks, so a week and a half. There's been a lot going on with the war. Obviously, oil prices are out of control. I think we're at like $115 a barrel, 120, which is crazy, man. The price keeps going up. But what I want to talk about today is not just what's going down like right this second, but it's kind of like where we're at in the market, right? And we are definitely in a bear market, not a bull run. We're in a bear market. But here's one way to look at things, right? And this is how you actually, if you can train your mind to think this direction, you always do better in the industry. So the faster you hit a bottom, you start going into a bull run, right? So a bull run starts at the bottom, when the bottom bottoms out and we start heading upward. When you start heading upward from the bottom, that's the bull run. The bull run is not when you're peaking at the top and Bitcoin's at all-time highs. That's the peak of the bull run. What you want to do is you want to be in on the rise up of the bull run, right? That's when you get into things early. That's when Bitcoin starts going up in price. You don't want to be buying when things are at the top. I mean, it's pretty common sense, right? So what stage we're at right now in the industry is like trying to identify where the bottom is, because that's how you make your decisions. It's not about, nobody knows the top or the bottom. You'd be a billionaire if you did. If you knew exactly when things were going to bottom out and things are going to top, you'd be a billionaire. Simple as that, right? So what you can do is try to make educated guesses on, or where you're comfortable with entering for any reason, right? Whether it be altcoins, Bitcoin, you got to just pick a point where you say, I'm comfortable with entering here, or I'm comfortable with selling here. Because one of the hardest things in this industry isn't just buying it early, it's selling it when you should sell it. Because you start getting the euphoria, things start going crazy, and everybody holds the bag too long, and then you round trip, and that's almost worse than not even getting it in the first place. So it's about identifying where we are in the industry, and that's what I want to talk about a bit. I'll go over a few things that have happened today. I mean, it's nothing that we haven't been talking about all week. Obviously, the war is escalating. That's going to affect the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's holding 70K. We had the Fed meeting. Nothing changed on that front. A lot of just basic things, like people talking about stable coins and how they're going to, really kind of take over and be a huge player just on a world stage. That's all through Ethereum, mostly. So it's basic crypto stuff. But today, let's talk about how to try to look at positioning yourself at the right time, right? So if we had a dump to about 60K, right? It was a pretty big dump from like 90K straight down to 60K. And I read an article today that CoinDesk said that analysts, like professional analysts, said that we're setting up for a very similar move the way the chart looks. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but they're saying it looks very ironically similar to when we had that big dump from 90 to 60. So if you look at the time frame and where we're at in the bear market, if you look at past cycles, right? Because that's all you can do. Like, nobody knows, but like if you look at the past cycles, 4-year cycles, things always play out similar, right? In the same range. It's always a little different, but you can kind of look back and say, this feels very familiar, and it usually plays out. So we're approaching the stage. If we look at past charts and you look at the past 4 cycles, you can say this is around the time we either have another dump and then we kind of bottom out, and that could be the last time. If I had to put my cards on if I had to put my bet on it, if we do have another major dump, I think that will be our last bottom. I could be wrong, but I mean, I've been here a long time and I've seen a lot of things. Now, we could have already seen the bottom. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but analysts are saying it's setting up to look like we could have another big spike down. Is that going to go down in the 50s? Is it going to go down close to 60? We don't know, right? Usually when you have a bottom, when things bottom out, it usually spikes down way further than you think, but it's very short-lived. So it's like it might go into the 40s and rip right back up to 55, 60 if that was the bottom, and you're probably not going to catch that, right? So that's not the real bottom to me. The bottom is when things kind of hit and then they stabilize a little bit and then we start going up. That's like a realistic bottom. So there's a very good chance we do go see another bottom, right? But I think if that is what happens, that's going to be the last one. And I think that's going to be when you can start really picking and choosing times where you want to enter the market if you do want to do that. So that's what I'm looking for. That's personally, if I'm going to buy more Bitcoin, right now, I think it's always good to buy Bitcoin, especially in these ranges. Like, yeah, you might be off a little bit. It might dump for a few months, whatever. But, you know, over time, it's always a good investment. And it always seems to play out, you know, if you really think about it. If the goal is to buy Bitcoin and hold it and then use it as like a hedge and all these things, and you truly believe in what it is, buying it between 60K, 70K, 50K, it doesn't really matter, right? Because the end goal is Bitcoin at $1 million. You're not going to be looking back and be like, man, I wish I got Bitcoin when it was 60K as opposed to 65. You know, it's like, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big of a deal if you're someone that's going to hold it. Now, if you're day trading it, different story, right? I'm not much of a day trader, so like I won't even speak on that. But so yeah, so I think like with the way everything's setting up, with where the time we're at in the market, in the bear market, it did feel a little early for us to be bottomed out at like 60K. That it just felt a little bit early in the cycle from what I'm used to. I could be wrong. Maybe that is it. Maybe the market is like grown and the infrastructure's gotten bigger, so the bear market's going to be shorter. You know, it's not going to be some drawn out bear market. But if you look at history, which is all we have, it did feel a little bit early, and I mean like maybe 3-4 months early. So now we're kind of approaching where it kind of feels right for us to be bottoming out, right? And we might see that, and it looks like it's setting up for something like that. So we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, we're sitting at 70K right now. We're holding pretty strong amidst everything that's happening in the world. So I don't know. I truly don't know if that was the bottom or if we're going to see one more bottom. But I have a very good feeling if we do, that's the last one. And that's when I am personally going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to start buying the hell out of things if we do see that. In other news, what else is going on? Yeah, the price of oil keeps going up. You know, that's expected with the war. It's escalated. You hear a lot of things on both sides. Obviously, you're never getting the full story, right? You got to really dive deep and like start following people that you trust. But at the end of the day, being at war, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It's going to affect the price of every market, especially when the war is about oil, because that's how the whole world is run. So it's always going to play an effect, right? Other than that, yeah, I don't know, man. I just wanted to rant a little bit about that. And you know, it's not, crypto in my mind it's not about when's the right time to like do everything, right? It's about like picking your spots on what you're comfortable with. And then even when you're selling and you decide to take profits, you got to really just set limits where you're like, okay, I'm happy here. This is when I want to make my profits. And if you're wrong and maybe it goes up another 2x, you just, you know, it doesn't matter. You stick to your guns, because what happens is if you get into this industry, you're going to get things that hit. You're going to get into coins that do well. And 99% of the time, it's because you didn't sell at the right time. It's not because you didn't buy it at the right time. And I see it every cycle. People round trip bags. I round trip bags every single cycle. You know, it's kind of bad because I've been in the game so long. I really believe in a lot of stuff because I'm like a crypto maxi, right? So I find myself holding the bag too much, and even I got to work on that. So it's not always about getting it at the price you want. It's about selling at the price you want too. And we'll talk a lot more about that as the market heats up. But I just want to say, you know, make sure you guys are nice to each other. Have a good day. We're going to have a good weekend. We are doing another video, maybe 2 tonight, with all the Coinbros on. So make sure you guys like, subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comment section, if I'm crazy or if you agree. And much love, guys. Have a good day.